Box is offering a succession plan option to MFDs and RIAs. Let's hear it out from Mr. Atul, CEO of Scriptbox. Mr. Atul Singhal is an alumni of IIT Madras and IIM Bangalore. In his past, he has held leadership positions at Coates Vela, Standard Chartered, Old Mutual, and Capital One in his corporate life. He became an entrepreneur by starting Scriptbox and Probe Information Services. He also mentors a number of other startups. So welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
I'll take another couple of minutes to just introduce others, and it's all over to you after that. So we have this team, in fact, so I would just like to take another couple of minutes to introduce all of them. So we have Sanjeev Singhal. He's the Chief Product Officer. So Sanjeev is also a founder and comes with 25 years of experience in technology and finance. He's also worked with various financial institutions like Citibank, ABN AMRO, Kotak Mahindra, and technology pioneers like Cybercash. He has played an active role in building wealth management, retail banking, and internet payment systems for financial institutions in UK, Europe, Southeast Asia, and Japan. Sanjeev also holds an MBA from IIM Bangalore and a BTech in Mechanical Engineering from National Institute of Technology, Kurukshetra. Welcome, Mr. Sanjeev. So we have Mr. Prateek Mehta. He's the co-founder and chief business officer. So at Scriptbox, Prateek leads business teams. He's responsible for revenue and growth with focus on targeting different consumer segments. With that, he's also responsible for marketing and functionings. As CEO of Upwardly, which was acquired by Scriptbox in 2019, Prateek led a successful business with a 30-member team catering to a wide variety of consumer segments. Prateek is a veteran of the consumer internet industry with deep experience in setting and scaling up large consumer business. So Prateek has previously held several leadership roles at leading e-commerce companies like Myntra and Zoe. So Prateek is an alumni of IIT Bombay and IIM Ahmedabad. Hello, Prateek. Welcome to the session. Yeah. So we have Mr. Anup Bansal. Most of you would be knowing. So he's from our industry, our friend. So at Scriptbox, Anup is responsible for creating investment solutions. He's become now he's become the CIO of Scriptbox. So he's responsible for creating investment solutions and helping customers reach their financial goals through prudent financial planning, financial awareness, and wealth management. So he has an experience of over 25 years and he's held leadership positions at various technology-driven companies. An entrepreneur at heart, Anup, co-founder of Mitra Financials, a SEBI-registered investment advisor in 2010. In 2020, Scriptbox and Mitra Financial partnered to offer a full stack of wealth management solutions. Anup has completed his BTech from IIT Bombay and MTech from IIT Kanpur. He is a CFA charter holder and is also a trustee of Anahat Trust, a charitable institution. With a curious mind and a passion for perfection, Anup enjoys writing, running marathons, practicing his artistic skills like acting and classical singing as well. So that was nice to see in the resume. So, and has even climbed the Everest base camp. So congratulations for that and welcome to this session, Mr. Anup. We have one Mr. Satish Shenoy as well. So, sir, I'm so sorry about it, but I do not know much about you, but I'm very much aware of the fact that you have been very instrumental and working very closely with Scriptbox, and you are the man behind the recent deals which has happened. So we would like to hear directly from you. So now over to Mr. Atul.
Thank you so much, Tejas, and everybody at Camphor. We are completely overwhelmed by just the love and respect we have received from Mr. Tej and his team. We have a small presentation which we'll take you through, which talks about Scriptbox, our journey. But before we get started, I thought I'll just spend a couple of minutes and I wanted to sort of thank you for the kind words, Tejas. But just note that we not acquired any business. It's not in our, it's beyond our, in Hindi we say aukat. It's not our capability to acquire anybody. All we have done is God has been kind and people have joined the journey and we've learned along the journey. And as you can see, people like Prateek and Anup make us stronger than we were individually. So as the business grows, we always are looking for good people to join us. When Sanjeev and me started this about 7-8 years ago, the primary purpose was to do what you all do, but do it digitally. To bring good wealth management practices, to bring the best of sort of helping people investing with a purpose. And as we have spoken to more people like you who are RIAs or mutual fund distributors, we find that you play a critical role. And what we do now is actually just, we've always seen the industry as partners to our growth. And now that we have access to capital and we've got a much more stable platform, and we've got what we believe is a solution which can do better for the customers, we feel it'll be appropriate if other people want to join the journey with us. And that's the proposition and offer. So, I mean, Tejas already introduced our team. What makes us who we are is the team itself. So we also want to tell you very clearly, we're not tech geeks. Right, we are not some guys sitting in the back office and doing some programming and doing anything. We are real human beings with experience in this category. My own experience was I set up a digital business in South Africa in 2005, 2006, 2007. So I have a deep understanding of what it takes to build digital businesses. So does Sanjeev and Prateek. Anu brings to us great knowledge of advisory, customer love, what it takes. And we try to pull it all together to give our customers better outcomes. So ultimately, I think, given all of our purposes are very similar, to create wealth for our customers and hopefully as a result, create some wealth for ourselves. So Scriptbox has been on this journey for some time. Now we feel that we have created a brand and a presence. And I'll take you through a little bit of the journey and hopefully be able to answer any questions. And just as a bit of context, I actually, in 2008, was setting up an asset management company. So I could actually have been presenting this as a manufacturer to you at some point in time. But I used to work for Old Mutual in South Africa, and we had got a SEBI license applications going for setting up an AMC. But thanks to Lehman Brothers, that never happened. But that gave me an insight into the industry. And if you remember well, and all of you will, 2008, 2009 is when the regulations changed. A lot of distributors actually vacated the market, and just the genuine people who really wanted to create a business have survived. And as our mantra, those who survive shall thrive. So first, congratulations to all of you that in this very complex environment, through this complex time, you've been able to build great businesses, and we respect that. So I'll quickly go through a short presentation on who we are. The map suggests the power of digital without having offices anywhere else but Bangalore. We have presence everywhere in the country. So we have customers from 2,500 PIN codes. Customers can sign up from wherever they are and be part of the solution we offer. I'll take about 20 minutes of your time, and I thank you in advance for your indulgence. We'll talk a little bit about Scriptbox, talk about what you're really interested in, the proposition for mutual fund distributors / RIAs, and what it could mean. When we say ARN, we've used it obviously, including the RIA people. The value, more importantly, for your customers. What are we looking for in potential partners, the process of joining the Scriptbox family, and obviously the main part, which is the question and answers. And I think thanks to Srikara and Vanita, we should be able to go through a bunch of questions. And what we can't answer because of either time or confidentiality, or I don't know the answer, we'll come back to you. We're recording the session, we will note down. And if there are places I can't answer because we just sometimes don't know, we'll come back to you later. A quick snapshot, we started in 2012. It'll be our 10th year anniversary next year. We are about 3,500 crores of assets under management as we speak. And these are all revenue generating, right? These are customers who've trusted us with their money as either a distributor or as an RIA. We've got both capabilities as we speak. We grow at about 100% every year, which I think is something we're very proud of. And we serve 85,000 customers, people who have joined us and have stayed with us over time and grow their wealth with us. We're proud of the awards we won. LinkedIn had rated us as the second most influential financial services brand in the world. Right? This has included people like American Express and Morgan Stanley and everybody else and Citibank. And why we're very proud of this award is because one of the things we've always set out to do is to digitize good advice, right? How do we talk to our customers in a language they understand? How do we create content which is easy to consume? And that's what we've done. And from an industry perspective, the more people who consume it, the more aware the customers are. And our intent is that through you, we're able to reach a larger audience with this. We've also been rated as the most innovative wealth and asset management company in India by the by the digital sort of authorities. We also get compared to a best bank. So we always say that we're not a sort of an online player. We want to see ourselves as somebody who finds holistic wealth solutions. And we're also very happy that we're a great place to work. We took part in this. There's a national survey called the Great Places to Work, which is a certification. So our people feel that we do the right thing by them. Like we do the right thing by our customers, we also do the right thing by our customers. Just an indication of the growth. And yeah, obviously, this is just the beginning. We are at about 3,500 crores and indicates that, and you know this business better than us, the compounding nature of the category, right? As customers trust you with more money and you acquire more and more customers and the customer's wealth grows, you grow, right? So we've demonstrated growth. It's in our DNA. And part of the what we want to do is bring the power of digital to a larger audience. So I'll take Scriptbox is different from a typical wealth tech company, right? So we're not a transaction player who enables quick buying and selling of products or stocks or as somebody says, I mean, the number of demat accounts which got opened in the last 1 year indicates a deep interest in the category. But we ourselves are slightly fearful, right? That while the going is good, everybody enjoys it. But if you don't do systematic wealth planning and if you don't do systematic wealth management, you're likely to burn your fingers. We are a full stack wealth manager. We do the entire financial and life goals planning. We do risk analysis and asset allocation, which is all digitized. We have an advisory layer for customers who are desirous of it. We do the full stack execution services. So we take responsibility for the end-to-end solution for our customers, including tax filing and reporting, right? So we've tied up with Quico, we've tied up with, and as you would do, it's just that we do this all digitally, a regular portfolio review and manage customers' life cycles. We've got deep research and financial planning capabilities. So we have an 8-man research team, which spans the entire spectrum of completely numerical-driven portfolios, deep insight into individual stocks, deep insight into risk-based portfolios. And these are highly experienced teams. And this itself, actually, once you become part of the team, you'll get access to it. You're able to access all our research at one place, right? So fact sheets, everything, insights, product portfolios, constructed portfolios. Our average portfolios, we cater to customers across life and wealth stages, but our average portfolio is greater than 5 lakhs. So we're not somebody who's just getting started. And we're executing what you would call a phygital strategy, right? We span both physical and digital. We have relation. So we don't have a traditional person coming to somebody's house. We use obviously the power of calls like this, Zoom calls and videos and digital experiences to talk to our customers. And the core of our business is to always do right by the customer. We live and die by that promise. As an example, when we construct portfolios, we do not take commissions into consideration. They're completely driven by numbers as to what's best for the customer. This will obviously, you know this very well. We just represent what we do for our customers. So we spend, and each of these legs has technology, science, math, data behind it. So while some people call digital and online similar, we think they are different. A digital business is like an Amazon, and an online business is like Big Bazaar Online. They're different, right? Just having an online channel for customers to see their portfolios is not a digital business. A digital business uses all of math, all of science, all of data, and the online experience to give customers better outcomes. So whether it's financial planning, whether it is goal-based investing, whether it is a customer journey, whether it's a customer experience, all of that using engineering and technology and design is what we do. We've got multiple tools to understand customer needs, risk profilers, financial planning tools, portfolio analysis. So we've got a tool which I think you all will love, where we take an existing ECAS statement and we digitize it, we visualize the customer's portfolio, and I'll show you an example across their wealth, are able to make recommendation what they should do. So after we understand the customer's needs, we construct a portfolio. And there's the secret sauce of Scriptbox. This is where we use algorithms, sort of backtest our scorecards for 7-8 years, bring in things like risk, size, consistency of performance, to construct consumer appropriate portfolios, whether it's in debt, whether it's for a short-term goal, to upgrade their house, to plan their retirement. We obviously our strength, and this is where we started execution services. It's single-click execution, right? You can redeem easily, you can purchase easily. Even when you redeem, it's tax optimized, right? So we look at your entire holding, we'll see how long you had it, whether you have long-term capital gains, where you have short-term capital gains. We'll balance that and give you the right answer. And this portfolio is an ongoing basis review, right? Digitally, we're able to portfolio scan and tell you if you've got over diversification, how aligned are you to your goals. And we do this at the family level rather than at the individual portfolio level, and you can cut it at any level you want. And again, as I said, bunch of algorithms, tools, investor segmentation, and BS have a relationship management capability where our people are able to talk to customers as the customer desires. We do this. We started with mutual funds. When we started, we are adding insurance, but insurance is a protection product, not as an investment product. Starting this quarter, we've added access to stocks through Zerodha. We've added access to international stocks through StockAl. We are adding fixed deposits as we go along. So basically, a full stack solution is available to our customers on the platform. And all of this, when we do construct a portfolio, it's evidence-based and math-driven. We also focus on using digital technologies to talk to our customers in terms of, say, you want to increase your SIP every year, right? So we'll nudge it in April, people typically get a bonus. We'll ask to say if you want to invest some more. When the markets are very volatile, right? Last year, we introduced something called a smart transfer plan. We asked the customers to put the initial money into liquid funds and then said, okay, over the next 12 months, in an automated manner, the money will move to equity. And just managing all of this, and as I said about the investor education, we write a couple of blogs every week. We do webinars every fortnight. So a lot with our customers. This is a typical experience of a customer. It's more than an app. So it's not just a simple app where you can buy and sell. It's a holistic wealth manager. And it's more than a wealth manager because it's 24/7. Right? It combines the best practices of wealth management with the use of technology. You can view and manage your total family wealth. It gives you analysis across multiple things, across debt, equity, liquid, illiquid, professionally managed, unprofessionally managed, across a whole product range. It gives you actionable insights, what to buy, what to stay. So like I said, what we do in a portfolio analyzer is we ingest your ECAS statement. We visualize it so it's easy to read rather than you getting the NAVs and long lists. And just a listing of funds, it tells you how much is equity, how much is debt, what is good, what is bad. Because we have a proprietary scoring engines, we'll tell you what are recommended funds. We'll tell you what to do with it, with your existing portfolio, how to rebalance it. We'll also tell you the news, right? So as an example, because of the way we construct our portfolios, the Franklin Templeton, the 6 funds which they had stopped, were not in any of our portfolios, on the Scriptbox portfolios, because we felt they were too high risk. Right. And we published the news about that on our platforms, but told our customers there's no impact to you. And as you would know, and the reason we are here is that technology will over time give you better outcomes. This is an example of a portfolio scan. On a quarterly basis, a customer gets a prompt that you have to scan your portfolio. They have to sort of click a button which initiates the portfolio scan, takes you through the steps, gives you the output, and tells you what to do, all in a single click. Right? You don't have to call the customer, spend time with them. Yes, if you want to, you can. But you can do all of this digitally and enhancing your customer time, enhancing your customer outcomes. Example of a tax efficient withdrawal. If a customer wants to withdraw money, right, and he wants to withdraw, say, 50 lakhs, it'll tell you what your expected tax is. Is this the right way to, which fund should you take it out from? And these are our recommendations, right? So as you can see, there are different amounts in different funds. Otherwise, typically people will take the same amount out. So while keeping the asset allocation in mind, while keeping the goals in mind, all of this gets automated. Just to explain the kind of customers, and I think these are exactly what you also would do. When we acquire customers, we find that their wealth is unmanaged. They've gone and opened a demat account. They've gone and bought some stock. They've got some ULIP policies. They've probably got an LIC policy when they began. And it's basically a basket of products without any real plan behind it. We serve customers across life and wealth stages. We really don't at this point in time cater to blue collar workers or very low income. We just don't have the right solutions for them, or ultra HNIs, and which I think we learn from some of the partners who could join us. And we define ultra HNIs as people with more than sort of 25 crores or more than 100 crores. We work more in the 50 lakhs to sort of 10 crore kind of range. And we find our customers are increasingly digital. So it doesn't mean that they're only doing the wealth management digitally. So they're banking online, they're buying products online. And most importantly, these customers are customers who are aspiring wealth builders. They're not day traders. They're not looking for quick get-rich-quick schemes. They're here to be with you. They're investing with a purpose. They want to get a better life for themselves and their families. And they do it for me. They're ready to pay for the value, right? These are not customers who are saying, I want only direct funds. I want only funds. We don't want those. We don't serve those customers. We don't have the solutions. We want customers who are ready to pay value for the services we offer to them. Similar to, I believe, people on the call, we are spending time, we are spending our expertise in giving our customers better outcomes. And we believe we need to be fairly paid for that, right? Because ultimately, wealth gets created by doing the right things, by patience, by spending time, by having the right goals, by having the right portfolios, not by just chasing returns. So, and we do this across a multitude of products for our customers. So that's Scriptbox in a nutshell, working with customers to help them grow their wealth systematically over time using the power of digital and technology. So I'll just quickly get into what could in it be for you. And this is not a sales pitch. This is just our view of where we think we could possibly add value to the industry. First and foremost, our platform. We showed a demo of that. It provides customers with a high quality, high integrity. Our heart and our mind is in the right place. And it's 100%, it's 24/7 available to you. It's for customers who are ready to pay for advice, right? It's a Scriptbox platform which customers can leverage. It also, because of the way we have designed the business, it allows our clients the client payment model, right? So this whole debate between RIA and MFD, we don't have that conflict. We give the customer the choice. Today, we offer the choice for customers who are coming with a 50 lakh portfolio, but they can choose to pay us either a fee which we collect from them on a quarterly basis, or we can collect from the manufacturer as a distributor. So the customer gets a choice, which is actually what the intent of the regulator was, right? And we are able to do this transparently. We are able to do this in a systematic manner. And as I showed, it's a comprehensive set of comprehensive wealth services, right? So it includes planning, risk assessment, asset allocation, the entire range of financial products, and we keep adding, right? And this is just the beginning. It's not that we have all the financial products. The team, we've got a 180, 190 man team. We've got about 60 people in engineering, product design. And what they're able to do is keep improving the product on a daily basis, keep adding more financial solutions. And as probably some of you know, and you would have probably laughed at us when we started, we had only 4 mutual funds, right? We started with 4 equity funds. And people said, why are you guys doing this? Because that was our customer base. We wanted to keep it very simple. As our customers have matured, as our customers have become more demanding, and that dil mange more, we've offered more. And as we add on, and one of the reasons we want to also do what we are doing, and this conversation with you is, we want to learn. We want to learn what our customers' real needs are. The reason we partnered with Mitras and we have Anup now as our Chief Investment Officer is because he knows more than us, right? So collectively, we'll do better for the country. Collectively, we'll do more for the industry is our perspective. From your perspective, the value for the partner, I think multiple reasons, and everybody has his own reasons. But what we've understood from the 3 or 4 transactions or 3 or 4 partnerships we've had, reputation and continuity for your clients, right? After all, we are all here to build a 100-year legacy. We want our customers' wealth to grow forever for over generations. It gives the customers a better experience, the best of the new world. It gives you access to sophisticated research, advanced technology, a whole stack of tools. And because we are institutional, right? We have set this up. We have people, and we are going to be here for the next 100 years, right? If not us individually, definitely our brand and our business. And it gives the customers continuity. And I think that's very, very important for all of us. We're not here to up and go. From an operational perspective, and we found that very clearly with Mr. Chandrasekhar and Mr. Narayan, and it's worth talking to them. And I'm sure because we have digital technologies and we have all of these processes sorted out, we've got 85,000 customers we serve. We've got a contact center which is available 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, 8 to 8. All the operational work, right? Fund accounting, fund operations, statementing, bank transfers, bank changes, everything, right? Which is necessary for our customers. You don't need to do it, right? Customers can just call the contact center. We'll do it for them, or they can do it on themselves on the app or on the desktop or on the mobile web. And it gives, what we find is that it gives the relationship managers a lot more time to be doing value additive work, getting to know their customers' needs better, talking to them, and the long tail, right? All of us know that 80-20 rule, that 20% of our customers give us 80% of our value. But there is a lot of value available in the other 80% if we just had the time. And this gives you the time to talk to them, right? As an example, Anup will tell you this, the Mitras book has grown, I think 80% in the last 9 months. Obviously a combination of good work and customer love, but just the time people have had to talk to them has unleashed that power. And yeah, obviously you get access to, you don't have to sort of be spending all the time reading. The information is just available to you easily. Yeah, let's create some value for all the hard work which has happened over the last many years. There's an upfront cash flow. You can, if you choose to be, it's your choice. An attractive, what you would call an entrepreneurial journey, right? We want the brand to be Scriptbox. We want that brand to become bigger. Yeah, if people want to continue doing what they have to do, as Anup and his team and Prateek and his team have demonstrated, they can choose. I mean, for example, Mr. Narayan just took a class for 300 people on good financial planning. He wants to be a trainer. That's his passion. So he gets to do that much more, right? Rather than going to office every day and doing what he had to do. You can option to exit. I mean, yeah, there are different structures. We'll talk to that, but there is clear value to be had for the value you've created while growing further. And I think there is also, we believe, personal growth. All of us are committed to making the industry better. All of us are committed to making our customers' lives better. So while you learn and while you grow yourself, I mean, like Mr. Chandrasekhar at Sai, his interest is in spirituality. So this gives him time to do more spiritual work, right? And chase his passion in life. And I think if you do this right, I believe we'll make a wealth management a better, more respected category in India. And that all of us can do together. Quick one on the process, the kind of partners we're looking for, first and foremost, and this is just as a reiteration, complete alignment of ethics and values. We have to have a meeting of minds. You need to love us. You need to love our culture. We need to love who you are, why you did this business, why did you start it, what is the purpose behind it, what are the kind of customers you acquired. Both our reputations are at stake, right? We really love our brand. I'm sure you do love your brand and your customers. Similarly, so that is very, very essential that we're doing this for the right reasons. Market reputation for all of us is critical. And there's a meaningful and continued business experience, right? So you've been around for some time. Your customers have loved you for some time. Ideally, at least 10 years, right? These are just guidelines, as I said. These are kind of partners we're looking for. The partner should want us equally. Somebody who's been around, who's understood the nuances, who's got the customer built out over time. Typically managing a certain customer, because it takes time and effort to onboard customers. So we're looking for people of a certain size and scale. Again, these are guidelines. In smaller towns, maybe Hubli or Belgaum, there might be a smaller practice. And I don't know the numbers, so I'm being presumptuous here. And high customer love, right? So our retention rates are 94-95%. Our customer cohorts grow at about 100% every 5 years. We want similar behavior, right? So we want customers who've been around. When I was in Chennai and I met Mr. Chandrasekhar's customers and Mr. Narayan's customers, what you could clearly see was a love for what they brought to the table, right? So similarly, we'd like that love to translate to the brand. The choice is yours, and we'd want people who want to build a better business for themselves and for their customers. This is not a sort of fill it, shut it, forget it kind of business. Yes, over a 3 to 5 year, some people might want to walk away into the sunset and get into succession planning as they just called it. But succession planning is not an overnight journey, right? It takes time. It takes a lot of effort, and we want to do this systematically over the years. the process, Satish is the man who will make it happen. So please send us an email. You can write it down. We will share this more publicly. After you heard us, after you answered your question, please reach out to us that, hey, we'd like to understand this a bit more, or we'd be interested. We'll sign a bunch of NDAs. We'll send you a form for more information, which you have to fill to give us as much transparency as possible. We will then reach out and there are some criteria. We'll be very transparent about it. We have no bone to pick with anybody. There's only so much appetite and so much capital. We have access to do this properly. Shortlist parties. And again, it's a gradual process. We really have so much capacity. We also need to make sure the most important person in all of this is the customer, right? Let's remember that all of us are incidental to this entire picture. So unless we can give the customers a great experience, unless we can make the customers get a better experience, we will not do this. So we'll do this at a certain pace. And yeah, we will look at some time understanding the business, asking more questions. And hopefully meet face to face if possible, do video calls, get to know each other, make sure that there is mutual respect in what we're doing. We'll complete a due diligence. We got a legal team which does this, finalize the terms transparently, which are fair to both parties, which are well understood, which are documented, which are legally binding, and then the contracting work and the next steps. Typically, we take 3 months, so hopefully we'll get better at it. But 3 months from when we start the process, not from when you write to us. When we say, okay, we are good to go, because there is a lot of demand. Let's be honest about it, and we need to figure out the right strategy for ourselves, both in terms of regional presence and the right partners for ourselves and the right size. Once the transaction is done, as I said, we've done 4 transactions. We understand it very well. We are completely regulatory compliant. How the AUM transfers happen, what do you need to talk to the RTA about, what do you need to write to the AMCs about, what do you need to tell the clients in terms of disclosures. There's regulatory approval in case of the RIAs. There's a whole set of processes which needs to go through it, which we understand very well. We'll understand that. Most importantly, the structured transition of clients to reduce uncertainty. So we run webinars. We were in a webinar last Saturday at the same time. We were talking to Mr. Narayan's customers. They're dialed in. They asked me a bunch of questions. We've done a video for Mitra's customers, which you can access on LinkedIn and which has been circulated to everybody. Welcome letters, welcome gifts, single one-on-one hand holding, onboarding. We'll train you on the product so you can train your customers, all that. There's a dedicated team which does this, right? So it's not that this customer is just a one name and number which gets thrown across into this unknown online experience. Each customer has value. We know them personally. So there's a dedicated team which will onboard them, answer any questions, help them. The customers get an account, they can access, they can do it. But again, the physical models, they coexist. And we think it'll take about 12 months for customers to get completely comfortable. We're not saying that overnight they cut off everything, but we're hoping that starting from completely physical to physical plus digital to more digital, with obviously the relationship manager with you always available to assist your customers. We'll also make sure that there are clear roles and responsibilities for each team member, including the partner, right? So like I said, if somebody wants to do a product role, they can do that. So we'll figure out the right answer for everybody as we go ahead. I'm done with my presentation, so I'll stop sharing my screen. I hope I was able to answer, give you a flavor of what Scriptbox is about and what we are looking for and what we have to offer. All yours, Tejas.
Yeah, very well presented, sir. Thank you so much. And a lot of questions actually just have been mailed across by our members. And then Srikala and I'm just going to coordinate on this one. And the very first question is all about why is the threshold of 100 crores? When you say this average investors investment size is only 5 lakhs. Why is it the threshold of 100 crores?
Yeah, so what we have found, as I said, it's directional. It takes time, effort, and money and cost to onboard a partner. It's got to be meaningful for us also, right? Because we are onboarding customers of a certain profile. As Scriptbox has grown its own franchise, the reason I have the 5 lakh average, it's average, right? Across 85,000 customers. We have 25,000, 30,000 customers with a higher ticket size, and we want to acquire those in a more systematic manner. And that's why the cut. If there are specific interested parties, we are happy to talk to them. But our preference is of a certain size and scale. It proves continuity, it proves certain customer love. And that's the marker for it. As I said, these are directional guidelines. But happy for Prateek to answer that or Satish to add to that.
So I think Atul has already mentioned, I think the most important criteria for us is a meeting of minds, right? With the right ethical values and the right customer interest. If we see that, I think there's a we are willing to look beyond the guidelines as well. But I think the guidelines just keep it real for us. It just helps us move the process a little faster, right? And also given the time and the bandwidth that the organization will invest in this, right? So with that, there's a both upper and the lower cap. But having said that, we are happy to hear from the potential partners, and then we can take it from there.
Okay. No, that's great. Before moving to the other questions, probably, right, I have this question. So I wanted to, from your side, what is the actual necessity to have digital presence in the MFD space now? Because even now people prefer to step into the bank and transact. So what is the actual necessity to just get into the digital space?
There is no absolute necessity at all. It's just as I explained, digital will give you better outcomes, right? You can your cost to serve customers goes down. You don't have to go to their house to collect any paperwork. Yes, there is some online experience happening, but as I demonstrated, right? So what you're able to do, and I don't think it's only the need for digital. The reason we are offering the solution to a larger set of customers is that we believe a bigger brand attracts more customer love. We believe that digital research gives you, as I said, digital is not online. Digital is technology, science, math, data all pulled together. So yes, there are customers who prefer to go to a bank, absolutely, but there are customers who prefer to come online. So if there are customers in your portfolio who want a better experience, they're welcome to come on. As I said, my own father, God bless his soul, would every day get up and do one task, right? I asked him why. He said, no, what else will I do in my day? I have to go to the bank. I have to go to the post office. So there are people who prefer that, and that's their choice. So again, this is not a solution for everybody. The world is getting increasingly digital. We are buying food on Swiggy. Who believe we'd be doing that, right? So it's tapping into the customer sentiment. It's tapping into the customer need that we are doing. So it's again horses for courses. Absolutely, every business will survive. Every business has a right to survive and grow. We believe there's a fairer chance for a digital presence for better customer outcomes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Atul, you in your opening remarks, you said good management practices is what helps you grow. Can you identify two of them so that it will help our fraternity to start with? Two most important good management practices according to you.
I'll answer, but Sanjeev is the keeper of the conscience, so I'll give this answer to Sanjeev. So the two most important practices are evidence-based, unbiased portfolio construction, right? So when we do portfolio construction, it's completely based on math and science, right? So these are scorecards we built over time. We stuck to them always, right? So commissions, the quantum of commissions we earn is actually relevant while doing the portfolio construction. And that's something, that's an honesty we have stayed with. So that's a great management practice, which keeps us honest and honorable all the time. The other management practices, we look after our people very well. This is my view. The reason we are a great place to work is because we do right by the customers, we do right by our employees. As an example, when COVID happened, I mean, there are a number of things. Again, just it's a question of who we are, our culture. That's what our good management practice is. But Sanjeev, you want to add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Atul. So I agree. I mean, these are the two, and that pretty much everybody in the leadership team of Scriptbox will agree on. The reason for this is that as we grow our businesses, and some of you would have that experience, is that after a while, you can't do everything yourself. Right? You've got to actually have more and more people. And the biggest challenge is finding the right people, right? People with the same skill set and the same honesty, integrity, intent that you brought to the business, right? The only way to do this is, one is reduce the reliance on judgment, right? So technology helps us do that. In fact, once we have programmed our expertise into the system, we can't override it, right? So that's the way we build the system. So when we recommend a fund at the end of the year through our analysis, Atul and I cannot override it, right? So we have some of our friends are fund managers in AMCs, and you would know them very well. And we do not recommend their funds. So there is that, right? And this is very, very important, because if you go from serving 100 customers to 500 customers to 5,000, 50,000, you know, every next step makes it more complicated, right?
Okay.
And the second is the people, right? You will need thousands of people or hundreds of people. Today we run with a team of about 200, so it makes it more easy. And it's easier to get 200 high quality people than to get 2,000 high quality people, right? And then you make sure that they are aligned and they're taken care of. So we believe you cannot be one thing inside and another thing outside. You cannot put one face to the customers and one face to your own employees, right? So you have to behave in the same transparent, ethical manner both ways. So
Thanks.
So, have you had any partners who wants to partner with you or align with you guys purely because they're not able to put in place a technology? Because today all of us know that we need to invest in technology to scale up growth. And as Sanjeev said, you know, beyond a point, you can't have so many good guys. So is there a business model where you will only help the technology part of when someone wants to align with you?
No, we don't. Shrikala, we don't do that at all. It's very clear. We believe that the whole package is what matters. It's the solution, includes the brand, which includes, as I said, I think unfortunately people mistake online/technology to be digital. They're actually very different things, right? It's a full stack solution which you have to buy into. There are other models. There are questions in the chat window. Yeah, we respect people like NJ Invest. They build great businesses. People like Sapient, people like Fund India, who have an IFM onboarding model. We are not that. We have a very differentiated model. We want the full stack Scriptbox experience to be made available to more customers, which includes the brand, which includes the research, which includes the fund construct, the portfolio construction, which includes the online experience. And the partner has get a greater outcome for their customers and revenue out of that. So we're not a technology platform which will allow you. So that's not our business model, very, very clearly. There was another question that how many companies? Many, many more, sir. It requires a lot more people like you and us to serve this country's growing needs. Yeah, you will not become a sub-agent you will become part of the Scriptbox family. It will be the Scriptbox ARM. So it's not a sub-agent model at all.
Okay.
Yeah, one is actually just as a digitally strong company, what would you advise our MFPs who are aspiring to just embrace the technology?
I think, first of all, technology, in my view, in every aspect of your business piece has got to be relevant. So whether it is the fund operations, whether it's your interaction with the RTA, whether it's your customer online experiences, it's how you deliver information to your customers. And so again, there are two parts to this business. There's one part of the business which is to serve the existing customers. You'll have to apply technology to that. The equally important part is to acquire new customers and grow with them. And the more you can do that digitally, the easier it is for you to grow, right? So I think it's the technology stack, as I said. Similarly, how you do your research, how you do your fund selection, how you add, how do you enable international equity transactions. So it's about, it's a large investment. We are happy. I mean, our model is transparent, right? It's not that I've shared exactly what we do. I've tried to be as transparent as possible. I can't share code, but yeah, I mean, we can tell you who the people who are building some great platforms. But as I said, the offer, if people are interested, again, this is completely, is that it's a slightly differentiated solution. It's slightly deeper. So yeah, we would highly recommend everybody, please invest in technology, please invest in better customer experiences and the full stack. How the customer experiences you, how the customer talks to you, how you do risk profiling, how you do fund selection, the kind of offerings you make, how you do redemptions, how you do tax optimization, how you do transactions, how you do performance reporting. Every aspect of it it requires technology at some point in time.
If you can, a couple of points as to what are the do's and don'ts one should keep in mind while running a technology-driven platform.
Oh, wow. Sanjeev, you want to take that? My view is it changes faster than you can actually imagine, right? So the challenge of technology, ma'am, is the reason we have a 60-man team is that it's ever evolving. You're always playing catch up. So yeah, just stay ahead of the game, find a good tech partner, somebody who's not Scriptbox. I mean, we're not a tech partner. Somebody who who's ready to invest the long hours, who's ready to invest in design. And technology is not only about the engineering, it's about design, it's about product, it's about the whole journey. So somebody who's ready to do that, the do's and don'ts are, yeah, be ahead of the game, invest in technology, stay on top of the latest, and build for the future, right? Build for scale, build for the future. Don'ts are, don't buy into the first thing which comes into your mind. Don't buy multiple solutions, right? So one is a plug into the RTA or MFU, one is a customer experience, one is a reporting module, one is some. So what ends up happening is that you have multiple solutions you're trying to pull together, and it doesn't work that way. But I mean, I'm not a technology guy, so I'll pass it on to the person who's actually a technology person, which is Sanjeev.
So it's a very interesting question, right? So I think using technology, and you could use technology for different things, right? So all of us use a phone. I mean, that's also using technology. WhatsApp is using technology. Using MS Office or Excel for doing computations is also technology, right? There was a time when you would actually do it using a calculator and a piece of paper, right? And it seems such a long time ago, right? And then you would create templates. So when you create a template for financial planning for your customers, that is better use of technology, right? Then everybody in your office can use the same template for give the same kind of advice. Then there is, so execution or transactional technology is actually pretty easy to do because that's been around for ages. There is not much change that has happened there. It just becomes available, you start using it. Technology to actually deliver a better outcome to customers. So more financial planning algorithms, for example, so our financial planning algorithms factor in the fact that people's salary goes up, right? You've all probably also, used calculators on various websites, etc. None of them actually assumes that your salary goes up, right? They assume they'll give you a SIP and that SIP works for the next 30 years. But actually what happens in reality is your salary goes up every year. So your SIP can also go up every year.
Now, of course, actually,
so things like that need to get incorporated into the system. And like Atul demonstrated, right? Tax planning. Today, if a customer says, if I want to withdraw X amount of money, can you make it most tax efficient, right? Where should I withdraw from? So to be able to figure out where the long-term capital gains are, can I offset some long-term capital gains against short-term capital losses, or the other way around, whatever is permitted by income tax. Now, to do that takes a few hours for without technology. For us, it's instantaneous. You can actually just do this. So, and that really gives value to customer, because if you can save him some tax, that is extra money in their pocket.
Now, of course, actually, some of the softwares that we use obviously just takes up the increment assumption in the salaries. Only thing actually many softwares does not cope up is the different inflation parameters or the return on investment assumptions or different ages. I think that is one thing which only technically rich or digitally powered platforms could do, is what I feel.
And that's just an example, Vanita. I mean, you can take this across the entire stack, right? It's, as I said, this financial planning, risk profiling, goal-based investing. So some of our goal-based investing models have a glide path, right? So what they will do is that as you get closer to your retirement age, they will blend your money into different pockets. And it's not like that's unique to this. This is some use of technology. The power if you integrate all of this into one solution. Otherwise, you have these multiple modules. And so I was saying the don't part of it is that these multiple modules, and you're taking out information from one place and putting it in another. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's the challenge which we try to overcome with technology.
Makes sense.
I have a question. So in fact, so since you have a large client base of around 80,000 customers, you're also acquiring clients online, onboarding them online. Now you have also acquired RIA. You give them an experience of both an RIA model and an MFD model as well. So where do you see the client's interest coming in? So what is the kind of a model they're preferring to go with? An RIA by paying a fee for the advice and the value add what we are giving, what Scriptbox is offering, or a normal MFD model which they are used to from many years? So can you just throw some light on that?
Sanjeev, you want to take that?
Yeah, so it's actually, what we've seen is, and this has been from day one, I think when people initially sign up, they expect a lot more physical contact, right? So we had customers who actually walked into our office just to check that we existed, right? So it's because trust is built over a period of time. Then people would call our contact center and ask a really, really simple question. And the intent really was to check that there was a human being at the other end, right? But over a period of time, that declines, and mostly. So, for example, you'll be interested to know this, right? So we tried this. So every client of Scriptbox, all 85,000 clients actually have Atul's email ID and my email ID, right? How many of them write to us on a daily basis? Maybe 4, 5, right? Because the product itself kind of does everything that you need to do. So they don't need to get in touch with us. Once in a while, they will have a question that our contact center may not be able to solve, right? Or they feel they will not get solved. Although our customer support team, the relationship managers are qualified enough to do this, right? But they will sometimes CC Atul and me, right? And say, I've got this challenge, can you, and there are certain scenarios, right, which you cannot do digitally, right? So somebody wanted to build out a plan for a challenged child, right? What happens to them after if something happens to me, and specifically in the last year, with the environment, things have become a little more, people have become a little more concerned. Now, that's not something you can do digitally, right? So that's where our financial planning team, the human experts actually get into the act and provide a solution, right? So this is the judicious use of, you do not need to call me to withdraw, right? You can just go online and withdraw money and we'll give you the best solution. But if you need really good planning, or you're going to retire in 3 years and you want to actually get very solid comfort around that retirement, then our human, advisors, experts are available to work with you.
To answer the question a bit more, Tejas, the services we offer in the distribution model or the advisory model are exactly the same, right? Like I told you, the whole wealth stack we offer. Customers choose to pay us either a fee, or they tell us, hey, you collect the money from the manufacturer. It's like some people pay their credit card bill in full. Some people choose to look at every line item. It's a very customer choice. I think Anup can add more value to it. So at this point in time, as I said, this regulation only came in on 1st of April. Since then, COVID has happened. So it's early doors for us yet. But we'll continue to offer that choice to our customers who are more than 50 lakhs who get onboarded. Anup, maybe Prateek, what's been our experience in the early doors? People are comfortable taking either choice, right? We've had 50-50%. I mean, half the customers have gone the advisory route, half the customers have gone, people who are eligible and who we offered the choice have gone the distribution route, right? Prateek, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I think, that's pretty much the case. But what is also very person to person dependent, right? Some people are very comfortable cutting down a check and a quarterly invoice going to them, and some people are comfortable with a distribution model. Is also the cycle of wealth for some people as they get onto a higher investable corpus between, let's say, 2 to 15 crores. That's when they start figuring out that, hey, I want to be on advisory mode, because I'm not really looking at pure investment. I'm looking at across the board, right? I need a bookkeeping service. I need a tax filing service. I need a will and estate management. There might be other aspirations like charity or some of the other services that our clients might need. And I think once that starts happening and your needs start getting more evolved, we've seen customers actively seeking advice, right? And it's a function of, again, where you are in terms of a stage of life, cycle of wealth, right? But we are very transparent and we let customers both choose, and also as relationships develop over years, we'll also go back and try and tell them that, hey, this is better for you, right? Because for us, what is right for the customer is right for us.
That's great, Prateek. Actually, just will you throw a bit more light on different kind of models? That is, the different kinds of association models. Now, of course, actually, this Atul's presentation is pretty much clear on the different types of association models that have been adopted. So, any more model in pipeline? the association?
No, the model is as transparent, right? The transaction is in sort of as a combination of some payout plus stock. Remember, we are going to go public in the next few years, right? So for the partner, there is a large upside if you believe in the value of markets, and that business is compounding at 100% every year. Has a reasonable amount of value creation available. So we want to offer that growth to our partners too. And that cash is paid out in sort of in tranches, some upfront and the rest linked to some milestones over the next 24 months. But we'll get into the exact details with the relevant people. We've now nailed the model quite heavily. We've got partners who like it. We've got other people in the pipeline. As we speak, we got about 3-4 other people who are in the middle of negotiations. So we understand that very well. I wouldn't want to get into the specific details here. I think there are a large number of people. It is an open forum. So I hope that answers the question. The model is very same. I mean, very similar. It's a question of the partner's choice if they want to play a continued role or not. They don't want to play a continued role. So we don't have a sub-agent model. We don't have a franchise model. We got a simple model. You become part of the Scriptbox family. You use the brand. You use the research. You use the platform for your customers. Give them better outcomes. Make more money.
See, does it apply even to the lead generation kind of activity? So those who just get associated with you, will they also be just facilitated through lead generation? So that's a question raised by one.
We'll acquire customers together, right? If you acquire more customers, you're part of the family. If the Scriptbox grows bigger, you grow bigger, right? So it's a question of a couple of partners who are joining us now will take on senior roles in the organization as relationship managers, right? But we prefer, as I said, there are, if you want to continue to manage a few clients, you can do that. You want to play a bigger role, you can. But we'd like to avoid direct linkage to customer names, right? That leads to cross outcomes. So it's better to be growing together.
And then next, Sri, go ahead.
No, just on the validation, I think that is something everybody is interested in. I know that your NDA doesn't allow you to talk about the past deals, but is there any benchmark, or I mean, just a ballpoint figure you can indicate, Atul?
No, I would not be in a position, Shrikala. I will be compromising any future transaction or any past transaction so we would not choose to do that. It'll be fair. The reason people were part of it and we are still doing them is we are absolutely fair. There is enough value. There is enough recognition of the hard work you've put in. There is enough recognition of the value we are growing from it, right? We are also doing this for commercial reasons. We're not doing this. So there is recognition of our existing investors. There's recognition of the hard work which the MFT has done. And again, this is the right solution for, I'm answerable to a board, right? After all, we are a VC funded company. We are answerable to a board. And we have to do the right thing by them and by your customers, by you. So all three stakeholders are looked after in a fair manner.
Yeah, I have a question on the safety measures part. So one is actually just, I know that you got associated with Minkasu, which talks about a kind of a biometric kind of an authentication. So can you just throw a bit more light on the safety part?
I didn't understand the question. Could you repeat the question, Vanita? What safety?
So when it comes to the money transfer part, because today we are in the world where actually just every day we keep talking about hacking of the mails, and then actually just how safe is the payment gateways, like kind of questions are there. So I know that you have got a double level kind of an authentication when somebody transfers the money to the platform. Can you throw a bit more light on that?
Money never hits our platform. Money goes from the customer's account to the AMC directly.
Is there a dual authentication there?
Sanjeev, you want to take that? Yeah, it's completely secure. It's world class. It's through Razorpay. It's
let me just answer that. So I think there is 2 levels of security that need to come in, right? So one is at the time of onboarding the clients, we verify that the bank account belongs to the investor, right? And that's the only verified bank account that then you are aware, right? That's the one that you need to send to the AMC, and the refunds only go to that bank account, right? So it's a verified bank account. The second is at the initiation of a transaction, there is 2-factor authentication. So you cannot just transfer, nobody else can transfer money. in any case, if you think about it, the mutual fund system is a closed system, right? Money goes from your account to the AMC in your name. AMC will actually reject a transaction if your names do not match, right? And then when it comes back into a bank account, which again the name has to match, right? So there is I think system level security plus our platform security, where all of the information is both stored and transmitted with a very high degree of encryption, right? And all the financial details we store in what we call, it's a technology called a vault, which has some hardware encryption. So all the sensitive details are stored using that encryption.
Okay. So I think I have a question to Anup as well, because it's related to the wealth management. Anup, actually, is what all products do you offer in the tech-led wealth management platform? Tell us more about the personalized advisory with the digital wealth management we have got into.
So like Atul mentioned, this is a complete digital wealth stack. And what we do is starting from risk profiling for the client, doing financial planning, asset allocation, and then selecting products according to the asset allocation. So there is, now first you kind of do the overall planning for the client, whether it's goals and financial planning. And Vanita, you've kind of talked about it in the past also, right? A lot. So when you do the financial plan and you understand the goals and you have a complete view of the client's wealth and the products come after you've done the asset allocation. And on the platform, we support all the products, whether it's mutual funds, stocks, international equities, ETFs, and NPS. So platform provides all those options to be able to execute on the plan. And then what happens is the platform provides also the facility for us to review and monitor on an ongoing basis. So what the overall platform, the digital part does, is the technology part does, is that how do you automate the workflows? How do you make the life simple? How do you put in those analytics so that you can make informed decisions? And how the advisor comes into the play is the emotional part, hand-holding the client. So that's the digital part, physical plus digital part. So that's the complete gamut of services, starting from risk profiling to execution, monitoring, and then taking corrective actions.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And Sri, you have anything to ask?
Yeah, I just wanted to, yeah, sorry, just go ahead.
Yeah, I have this question for Mr. Satish Shenoy. So since you have been instrumental in, conversing with the MFDs and also striking a deal with them, what are the challenges you face when you start the conversations, and how do you evaluate a suitable candidate? If you can just speak something on that.
And I just will add to the same thing. What is the conversion rate from the evaluation process to your clinching the final date? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So again, I think that Mr. Atul's presentation was pretty elaborative and almost all the points.
Satish, you're on mute.
No, Satish, I think he has an answer.
You're on mute.
Yeah,
I think you will need to unmute him. He may not have the option to unmute.
Just 1 minute. No, he's a co-host.
Somehow he's not being able to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, Mr. Satish, go ahead.
No, Satish needs to be unmuted, Vanita.
He's not unmuted yet.
Yeah. He's trying to.
Now
okay. Is it okay? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Hear you now. Yes.
Okay. That's what I was trying to signal, that I was not able to unmute myself.
Okay.
Anyway, let me answer the second question first. Because we have just about started about 9 months to a year ago, and the kind of references that we have got so far, I think our conversion rate has been to date 100%. Okay, whoever we have engaged, we've been able to convert. And I think part of the reason why we've been able to do that is, it takes initially, at least when you're doing these kind of transactions, if I can call them transactions, or associations is a better word, is that you need to understand each other better first. Okay, that's what we try to do. And the minute we know that the kind of chemistry that we have and the kind of orientation or perspective that we have towards the clients is the same as that of Scriptbox. Trying to get an understanding of the portfolio, because there's a process that we have kind of figured out along the way. And that has taken some time for us to understand what does it take to actually get this whole thing going from scratch, from day one until the closure. And post the closure, which means signing a document, to the transitioning phase, which is a part which I think we are now getting a very good handle on. Moving forward, I think the challenge of conversion or the extent of conversion that we'll be able to do probably will definitely will not be 100%. But the time taken for having an association signed off is going to be shorter and shorter as we learn from our experience. I hope I've been able to address your question.
Yeah, thank you. I think Tejas part, I think you want to. The first question.
Yeah, again, actually, just a couple of them have raised this question as to just when you are keen on beyond 100 crores, how about addressing to the advisors who have less than that?
I don't have a straight answer, Vanita. We will do on a case by case basis. It's horses for courses. It's a question of the effort involved. I mean, people like Satish, Prateek need to evaluate the right transactions. We've learned a certain amount over the last few years. I mean, as I said, though Satish talked about 100% of the people we actually engage with, right? When we picked up very early in the transaction that this is not meaningful for either party, we've not done those. So again, as I said, we don't want to sound elitist. We don't want to sound bigger than our boots. We're also here for the right reasons. But we feel from a business perspective, for continuity for the customers, for a certain size and scale is important. That's how we see this. I again apologize if we sound as if we are only looking for the big boys. It's not that. That's not. We're not also being bigger than our boots and saying anybody with 2,000 crores. We would not be able to absorb them, right? So it's got to be our own limitations and our own criteria which have asked us to put these cap in a collar. Is the way we're looking at it. And believe me, you guys have built great businesses over the last many years, and I'm sure you'll continue to thrive. More than happy to have some more discussions and talk about the right technology and what we can do. But from our perspective, the proposition we have at the table at this point in time is a deep partnership where the brand, the research, the compliance, the partnership, the platform is Scriptbox in all of these above. And that requires a certain size and scale for us to scale from here.
I think Mr. Babu has a question to ask. Mr. Babu, go ahead. Babu Arunachalam.
Yeah, thank you. See, as we all know, like a customer comes with a lot of products, right, from his own PF or some post office deposits or government of India bonds, gold bonds, or whatever it is, post office schemes. So does the platform have the, provide for taking all these things and the review and monitoring these things?
Not all of them immediately, Babu. We don't have them, Mr. Arunachalam, as of I'll take the liberty of calling you my first name, like you should call me my first name. That's our culture. So we don't have all the products. We're adding very rapidly, like I just showed in that. We've added tax planning, international equity, Indian equity, fixed deposits, insurance in the last few quarters. We will add NPS. So as our customers grow, this will get added, right? But we will make sure that these customers' products are managed offline if required. And as Sanjeev was mentioning, there's an onboarding team. You're not going away anywhere. You are here with us. So a combination of physical and digital will happen, but definitely over the next 2 to 18 months, the customer will be able to access and view their entire wealth. What happens in certain complex products where there's no technology backend in the provider's end, right? So suppose there's a fixed deposit and SBI doesn't allow us to integrate into their platform. Those will have to continue to be managed offline, right? So that's just the reality of the backend provider allowing us the integration. And as the world digitizes faster, the account aggregators come in, more information becomes available, more platforms like Fins2 come in, and Setu come in. I think we will be able to do more. We don't have all the products yet, but the intent is definitely to give the customer a holistic experience.
So just in continuation of the same question, For example, if an MFD is offering certain products which Scriptbox is not able to offer as of today, when you do a valuation of a business of an MFD for the takeover, do you consider those kind of assets and value them, or you don't do that?
It's a case-by-case basis. It depends on the continuity, the transferability. It's a case-by-case basis. So yeah, that I think Satish will obviously talk to you individually, but it's a case-by-case basis.
I think Mr. Girish wants to ask a question. Mr. Girish, can you go ahead?
Yeah. Atulji, just want to have one fundamental question. And generally, is there any attrition rate of investors going out of your technology platform? Attrition rate?
Lovely question, Girish. Absolutely. Yes, we do lose customers. We lose about 6% every year. And that, I believe, is amongst the lowest in the country. So our attrition rates are, we are very proud of our retention rates. Our retention rates are 94%, 95% on an annual basis. And we're getting better. As we add more products, customers will get stickier. That's something we focus on very heavily. So one of the things which Prateek monitors and really looks after is customer retention. So we've got processes, so if customers do withdraw, we ask why, we figure out how to get them back on board. Regular attrition will happen. Some customers don't like us for whatever reason, right? And those we can't help. But even when direct happened, right, when all these platforms like Grow got mentioned, our customers stayed with us. They like the whole full stack wealth solution. So we do, while discount broking is very popular now, and we respect competition like Upstocks and Grow and Zerodha and Coin, we feel we are fundamentally different. We feel we are solving a fundamentally different customer's problem, and we are uniquely positioned to grow in that space.
That's great. Thank you, Girish. And I have a question from Mr. Subramanian Swamy. So because you were talking about Scriptbox offering international kind of stocks through StockHal kind of a platform. So how do you advise on the international equity? That's a question.
So we currently don't have the capability to advise on that. We're currently enabling the transacting capability because our customers already have those portfolios and we want a single video. We are building out the advisory capability. One of the big tasks for Anup and his team as a CIO is to build that institutional capability. Whether we buy or build, we'll decide depending on what we want. But yes, if it becomes part of our customers' curated portfolios, we will take a stand on what you should include, how much you should include. So think about a portfolio as a holistic portfolio. You'll have mutual funds, you'll have Indian equity, you'll have international equity, you'll probably have some retirement products. And that holistic thing is what Anup and his team will construct for you. And within each of those, we'll obviously give you best in class. As we have done in mutual funds, so will be in other products. And these things take time to build out. And yeah, we have, as I said, for the next 100 years, and we'll keep getting better.
Steve, would you like to take Mr. Kumaraswamy's question? So
I think partly it was answered. It was about as part of the transaction acquisition, what is the component? Like, is it in cash or is it in stock? I think partly Mr. Atul has already answered it.
It is a combination of both. It is a combination of both. And again, as I said, Satish will have those individual discussions. We're not, this is something we are keen to do, but on mutually respectable terms, on mutually acceptable terms. There is no obligation on either party, right? It's something which both parties should find value in.
Okay. And typically, generally the feeling is when someone comes to technology, it's more when the ticket size or the AUM size is small. So what's been your experience? I know that you are offering both models, RIA and distribution model. And your average ticket size of 5 lakhs in the AUM also kinds of indicates that people are comfortable using these platforms when the money at stake is smaller. Is that justify the argument?
No, I think that's a completely we do a poor job of telling our story. We have 4,300 customers and growing, probably 5,000 customers today with greater than 10 lakh balances. We probably, and Prateek, you have the exact numbers. We probably have over 500 customers with more than 1 crore. So we serve customers across the spectrum. And this does not include, I'm not talking about the customers we acquired. These are customers who've grown their wealth with Scriptbox. So there are larger ticket customers who are very comfortable with a digital only experience or a digital experience primarily. So it's just that we have a large volume of customers, right? So there are customers.
Yeah, your average tends to come down. Yeah.
Average tends to come down, but the median is very high, right?
I
And there's the
Just
question, how
add
do
to
you
that.
serve?
I just add to that. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the assumption that you stated is based in a little bit of reality. I think it was true. It was true when we started. When we
Okay.
started, we did have questions about people. One is payment systems were not that good, right? So there were limits on what you could do on NEFT, on mandates, all of that. But over the period of time, we've actually seen people shopping for products more than 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh jewelry. I have a friend who runs a jewelry business online. They regularly have customers shopping for lakhs of rupees online now. And the change has been very, very fast in India. And that has we've seen this in our business as well. People are very, very comfortable managing large amounts of money online, making large investments online. So it's a change.
Okay. And there's a question as to how do you serve non-individual clients? Is it completely online or is it a different way of handling them?
I will answer that. So we currently, all the technology platforms are capable of serving both individual and non-individual, right? As far as the transaction capability is concerned. There are some typically legal issues with respect to, let's say a firm having an authorized signatory or a trust having an authorized signatory, right? So we support joint accounts, for example, that requires two people coming together. So, but typically what happens is in terms of the engagement for such people, it tends to be a little offline in terms of advisory, etc. Because it's not, one minute. If there is an individual who's just investing through a firm, that is very different from actually a firm investing, so we do manage, for example, liquid fund holdings for large companies, right? And that is onboarding is online, and they are actually even able to transact online, right? Because we've got the mapping of the authorized signatories and the authentication for that. When it comes to some like trusts and HUFs, things like that, that's a little more complex to do because of the legal construct. So we handle the advisory part of that offline, but the transaction still happens online.
There's a question in the chat window, which from Jyoti, which I think is a very relevant question. All I can promise you is our ethics. We want to be here, so we don't believe we will start a bad negotiation. We've not had the experience of anything falling apart. We are transparent in our transaction to begin with on an individual basis. And I don't believe, I hope we don't come into a acrimonious relationship to begin with. And hence, when you saw, when Prateek spoke, when I spoke, the meeting of minds at the very beginning is very important. This is not a commercial transaction. This is a meeting of minds. This is where the brands are becoming one. This is where two companies are coming together to do more. So we don't see it as an acquisition at all. So we see it as a partnership. Obviously the legal agreements will have all the appropriate paperwork, right? Everybody's interests are protected. It's a fair transaction. So we don't expect it to happen. Prateek can talk about it. He's been with us for 18 months. Anoop's been with us for 9-10 months. Prateek, I'll hand it over to you to give real life experiences.
Sure. So Atul, almost 2 years now. So
yeah, 2 years. Sorry.
I think that's interesting one, right? Because when there is a meeting of minds and when there is a alignment on execution, right, time also flies, right? And but clearly, I think what is important for us is that because the customers and all of us as custodians of customers know that this is a multi-decadal business, often a multi-generational business as well, right? So we are. It's very important for us to figure out the right partner, and often you will see that if you choose to partner or even associate, you'll see that a large amount of our time will be spent just figuring that out, right? What is the ethos with which the business is being built, right? And what is the overall and that focus area, right? And I think on being, and I have been in that sense on both sides of the table, right? So, and I can clearly vouch for the fact that that's very easy for me to talk through that experience, right? Because the only reason why we've been able to do transactions successfully and we have a fairly healthy set of conversations happening is because we have the right culture, right approach to this, and then also the right set of processes to make this successful, right? Because eventually the success in this is when the customers are happy, the partner is happy, and of course we are also happy, right? So I think all those three elements have to align, right? I'm sure. Yeah.
If I can add to this, Atul and Prateek,
Sure,
there's
Satish,
one
please.
more thing I wanted to add here. Whenever we have engaged with potential partners, the kind of information that is shared, even after NDA, none of them is proprietary in nature, okay? Which means that we will not ask for names of your customers, where they are based, etc., etc. Very important. Even up to a stage of a what you call a commercial construct and into signing document. I mean, while a diligence process is going on, we will probably confirm whether the information that you've given is true or false. And in most cases, it's been absolutely on the dot. But we will not get into anything behind who your customers are and what has been the track record. So therefore, it's, even at the stage of commercial contracts, we will not know the composition of your customers. I think that should be a great comfort to anybody who wants to associate with some trepidation. This may not succeed and it may fall off at the negotiation stage.
Yeah, that's great. And I have a question here. Is there any threat to MFD if the negotiation, sorry, that is a question that you have answered now. What happens to the assets of MFDs that have been transferred to Scriptbox and he is no more after 2 or 3 years? Say, if the person who transfers the assets, if he gets deceased post 2 or 3 years, obviously he'll become an employee of SB, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the transaction actually gives them fair compensation to them or the family for the book which gets integrated. And the other is a separate transaction, right, where you want to continue to get employed or whatever. So I don't think there is any threat to the family. It is succession planning in its truest sense. So we want the customers to continue. We want the family to get the money. So that's not a problem. Sanjeev, there's a question on as per new regulations, MFDs are not supposed to offer comprehensive advisory to clients. How is this done at Scriptbox? And how do you address the new regulations? Sanjeev he's on every panel that there is to know in the country.
Yeah, so the thing is that we are fully compliant with the regulation. So wherever there is for example, we provide so there are layers of advisory, right? So there is financial planning, there is asset allocation, and there is actually security recommendation, so stock. So if the client is a mutual fund distribution client, for example, he will never get stock recommendations from us. If they want to be able to get stock recommendations, then they have to become advisory clients. Right? But mutual fund recommendations we can do as a mutual fund distributor, right? Financial planning we can do. We can provide other products like insurance, NPS, etc. as mutual fund distributors. Right. The piece that we are able to do, again, because of the because of the way we record the uniqueness of clients, is that we are able to comply with the requirement that at a family level, the client is either advisory or distribution. So our systems kind of handle that. So if a client, for example, this is a big question for us internally. We've got an advisory client, but he goes and downloads the app and signs up. How would we even know, right? So our systems are designed to actually handle that and throw up an alert, and the customer will not even be able to sign up, right? In a different mode.
Here I have a question which is very basic. That is, when the acquisition happens, assume that the MFD has been an entrepreneur for long. Now that actually he just ends up just getting tied up with Scriptbox. And will you be having a target pressure stating that only these are the products one has to focus on?
Two very different questions. About target pressures. No, absolutely not. Even our relationship managers are not incentivized on, fundamentally, the system takes care of everything. Your job is to look after customers and their well-being. That's the only job. And that obviously is a one-to-one discussion. In terms of what you're selling under what you are offering to your customers under the Scriptbox brand is a Scriptbox solutions. So if they don't fit the solutions criteria for Scriptbox, you obviously are not doing that. Right. And obviously there are suitable non-compete clauses. There is no, I mean, it makes no sense for us to do a partnership. So we like to understand, like somebody earlier asked, if there are solutions which you believe are suitable for clients, they should be on the platform. As I initially stated, one of the objectives of the partnership is for us to learn. So if there are solutions you believe are good for customers, we'll offer them to more customers. Why should they be unique to one customer, right? You offer them to a larger set of customers, you bring them onto the platform. I would be surprised if a situation arises that a partner is forced to do things on the side. That's not the intent of the partnership. When there is no target pressure. I mean, we're not designed around targets. So we obviously carry targets. We're answerable to numbers, but the target I carry is only one, which is called NPS, Net Promoter Score. Are our customers happy?
That's great. And
so we'll just have two last questions. So one from my side and one from Babu's side. And we'll wind up the session. So because we have taken too much of time. So in fact, for an MFD, let's say a brand is created, a goodwill is created over the last 10 years, and they have mobilized certain amount of assets. When they engage and when they intend to work with Scriptbox as a brand for the next 10 years, let's say, so do you also consider the future growth of the business and do the valuation and then compensate that as well, or how exactly does it happen?
So there is upside, right? So there is upside on the book. So if there is the part of the transaction would value growth. So it will value what has already been achieved and it will also value future growth. It will be transparent. Satish, I'll not get into the numbers here, but there is stated upside which is available to customers. To
Satish, would you just like to comment something on it? Satish needs to be unmuted, I guess.
No.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I think every commercial construct that we do is almost bespoke. Okay, it depends on the person we're talking to, what their intent is, whether they want to exit. For example, in succession kind of a situation where somebody is late 50s or early 60s and they want to exit and do something else with their lives, the construct is built on a certain premise. If somebody wants to stay on for 10 years, we will factor in the fact that the person may want to represent Scriptbox as a strategic partner and accordingly provide the construct. The fact of the matter is that depending on what the strategic partner needs or wants, we will design the transaction suitably.
So it's pretty flexible is what I understand.
I hope that answers your.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So,
I just want to answer one question before I go to Babu. Sorry, Dipesh has asked any specific reasons you're acquiring MFDs. We are not acquiring anybody. This interest came from the industry to us. We have clearly said, if you want to become a partner to us, we are offering it. We are not a big brother here to go and acquire people and become bigger and bigger. No, that's not the intent. We believe customers can get better outcomes by using digital technologies. We have spent the last 8 years building what we believe is a great product and a great outcome. We are offering that platform for people who see it as a value. Everybody has their own business. They've set up the business for a certain purpose. They have a certain promise they want to fulfill. It is entirely your choice. We are not here to acquire anybody. I please want to break that myth. I'll not sleep easy at night if I've left that impression. I've clearly said that we are here to partner with like-minded people who think that technology, digital, could help them accelerate better outcomes for their customers, is good succession planning for themselves. And that's an offer. It's not, we're not here. I don't have sales guys going out there. So Satish doesn't carry a target. Satish is not carrying a target to acquire more people. That's not how we run this.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to add what Atul said. Very relevant point. To date, we have not gone out soliciting saying that why don't we look at your business?
Okay.
Everything that we have done so far has come from people who have heard about this, who have reached out to us, And you can go and check with the last 2 MFD acquisitions that we've done, if you know them personally, and see the way the whole process has happened and the way we have interacted with each other. I think that says it all.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir. Can I go ahead?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mr.
Babu.
Babu, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So just want to see okay, you're talking about not acquisition, it's an association and all that. But if somebody has an interest to just acquire, not association, I'm just interested only in the all cash deal, no stocks, nothing. Are you also open to that? But or you only like a sort of which you explained throughout the entire process, like you're looking at similar people to work together, use your digital platform, and that's the only proposition here. Do you have also open to look at, I don't want to continue in the business, I just want some consideration for my business, that's it, I don't want any future relationship. Are you open to such sort of acquisitions also?
Absolutely, Babu. Absolutely. So, like as I said, it's horses for courses. There are people who want to go do other things. As long as we have assurance of continuity, as long as we know the book has been built with love, as long as we know we're doing it for the right reasons. And yes, there is the transaction is linked to continuity of the book itself, right? We obviously don't want that the day the person who's become part of Scriptbox, the book also goes away. Then there's got to be a mutual hand-holding. And as you said, the transition takes 12 months to 24 months. Customers need to get comfortable with the new experience. They need to be assured of what is happening. So you can walk away into the sunset. It will not happen overnight. It will happen over a period of time. And as I said, one of the transactions in Chennai was that one of the persons wanted to spend more time on spirituality. That's his choice.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think we're well past our 90 minutes target. That's what we had initially indicated. Thank you so much, Atul, and the entire management team of Scriptbox. I think it was a wonderful session. I think the loud and clear message you have given is that you only want to partner with like-minded people and you are not soliciting any business. So I think people who have attended, if you want to partner with them, I think you can go ahead and do that. And thank you once again, the entire team. And we look forward to more interactions probably on different topics over the next few months. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much on behalf of Scriptbox for having us on the platform. I hope we've been able to answer some questions. More importantly, reassure you that we are not an acquisition engine. We are not. We want the industry to succeed. So anything we can do, you want us back to talk about aspects of brand building, aspects of technology, aspects of customer experience. More than happy to share our learnings for everybody to improve. We don't think we see you as competition. Hopefully you don't see us as competition. We're in this together to get a better outcome for our customers. If there is an option to partner with us, please do feel free to reach out. It'll be our pleasure to respond to you. That said, I hope we've been able to assure everybody that Scriptbox is in this with you, with the community, and we do not see what you've built as something which is inferior or anything. We see that as superior to what you've done. You've done it through your own hard work. We really respect entrepreneurs. We know what it takes. So we really respect what you've achieved, and all the best to everybody for everything. Have a great, safe weekend, and all the best for the future. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tejas, for reaching out. It is so respectful of you. And I hope we've been able to answer some questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was really insightful. And I'm sure a lot of them will find it as a value add for the entire business. Yeah.
Keep in touch, Tejas. Hope to catch up with the coffee sometime soon in person, the moment this thing is behind us.
Looking forward. Yeah. Thank you.
The coffee with Scriptbox. Thank you so much, the entire team at Scriptbox, and it was very great hearing to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sri, shall we just wind up?
Yeah, thank you, and all the participants for logging in and attending the session on a Saturday evening. And stay safe, and we'll again see you soon over another interesting topic. Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.